Okay, this is just a little recap video to help you with the structure of carbohydrate. But before we go into the actual structure of the carbohydrate, let's look at what it's composed of. So you've got carbohydrate, so as the name suggests, carbo is carbon. And then the hydrate, so this H2O, we know to be hydrogen and oxygen. Now, carbohydrates are the nutritional category for sugars. Okay, and there are many different types of sugars, but in science, the term given to a sugar is saccharide. It's more than one, saccharides. Now, the structure or the formation of our different carbohydrates just depends on how many saccharides are actually linked together. So let's look at what we might be familiar with so far. We've got complex carbohydrates, and another term we've heard of is simple carbohydrates. Now, the only difference is they are both sugars, it's just the structure. Okay, so I'm going to use this to annotate a saccharide. Alright, a complex carbohydrate has a chain of these saccharides linked together. Alright, a chain. And because there's a chain of them, it takes longer for them to be broken down and digested into the bloodstream. So they are slow releasing energy just because of the amount of time it takes to break this chain down. And then we have simple carbohydrates, which is composed of two or even just one saccharide. They are quick released into the bloodstream because it doesn't take long to break them down at all. So what we're going to do, we're just going to look a little bit more of the different types of saccharides that we have. Let's have a little clean of this. In science, the term, brightness, in science, the term mono means one. The term di means two, tri is three, and poly is many, or 10 plus. So if we take these terminology, mono, di, and poly, and we can look at the structure of our carbohydrates in a little more detail. So here in my chain of saccharides, I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So because I've got 10, the term I would give to this carbohydrate is a polysaccharide. It's got 10 plus. Poly. This one here, of a chain of 2 saccharides together. So if we look over here, 2 di, so disaccharide. And lastly, we've just got 1 saccharide on its own, so it's classed as a mono saccharide. Okay. Now, typically, a lot of the food we eat is a polysaccharide. Well, it should be. But polysaccharides are too long or too hard to digest. We can only digest into our bloodstream monosaccharides. So if we recap our digestive system, we have an enzyme called amylase. And amylase is its first contact with a polysaccharide is within the mouth or the buccal cavity. and in our saliva we have amylase. Amylase gets to start to work on this polysaccharide, and it breaks it down into disaccharides. Disaccharides. Again, it's too big for our body to digest. So what then starts to happen, I'm just going to pull this a little bit here, is that as food enters the stomach, and the stomach, the three layers of muscle, mechanically break this food down, 2 to 3 hours in there, and it produces a liquid called chyme. Chyme then enters the duodenum, which is the first section of the small intestine. It's a C-like structure, and it's got a really important role to do because it does its final stage of chemical digestion within the duodenum. Pancreatic juice is secreted, so pancreatic juice is pumped into the duodenum and contains many enzymes. But the one enzyme we're going to focus on is amylase. And the amylase within this pancreatic juice breaks down our disaccharides into monosaccharides, which are now small enough and there's one up there. Okay, so we've got our monosaccharides, and now can be absorbed into the bloodstream by these finger-like projections in the small intestine. They have a really good blood supply, and now our monosaccharides are small enough to be reabsorbed into the bloodstream.